What does every Starfleet officer need?
Bread.
Is it a phaser? Is it good morals?
No! No!
Is it a ship? No. The first thing a good Starfleet officer needs is... Today we're doing boot covers for our Mariner cosplay and our Boimler cosplay. So I'm going to be doing my shoes and my partner's shoes for his Boimler cosplay. It's the same process, so I'm only going to show it to you once. These are the shoes I'm going to use as a base. They already come with a red sole like they have on Lower Decks. If you would like to get these as same exact boots, I'll have the link below. These are a good option, I think. The only thing that I don't like about these boots is that this part of it feels a little too far forward from the leg. It's not a good like tight fit around the leg. So we'll see how that's gonna affect the fit because Lower Decks boots, they go up past the ankle. And if they start to look a little too like gappy around the leg, that's when I'm like, ooh. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna do the typical saran wrap masking tape method to create my pattern, and then we're gonna get to sewing. So let's go. Let's get this done, baby. Okay, so we first start with prepping the boot. So we're gonna cut off all the external little gribbly bits, like this little finger holder thingy. Then I slice up the back because this is gonna be our opening for the Velcro, so we can actually get our foot in the boot. I also then cut up the side panels of the ankle of the boot. But baby, when I tell you, I cut almost the whole shoe. And then honestly, when I make the second pair, I'm probably gonna cut even more. So this is where I ended up with. And I used Velcro to kind of keep the boot, you know, to have some kind of tension so that it just wouldn't bow out when you put your foot in it. It does in a little bit, but it would be a lot worse if I didn't have that Velcro in there. So you basically just, you know, get you some hot glue, and I soaked this little strip. I also did one at the ankle, but now we're getting into the nitty gritty. Okay, so you probably have seen a million boot cover tutorials, and this is pretty much the same deal. Saran wrap, and then masking tape, and then you draw your seams on the masking tape. I put a center seam down the front, and then the seam down the back. This is always my least favorite part. I feel like I'm gonna stab myself. Please be careful when you do this. Once you're free of your foot cocoon, I go back over and trace the lines and straighten them out with a black marker just so they're easier to see, and also so they are, you know, more correct, because it's always hard to draw on your foot while the shoe is on your foot, you know? So now I'm cutting that pattern off of the boot, and this is what you should have. So I went and made like a 1-inch cuff. And now I'm just subtracting that from the foot pattern. I'll make a separate pattern for this later. I don't have the footage for that, but basically you want to make it the width of your boot, obviously, at the top. And I add 5/8 of an inch on both sides, not at the top, but also at the bottom for the cuff. And then I'm doing the same thing for the shoe. I'm just giving it I'm using my measuring tape as like the width for my seam allowance, which I saw on TikTok in a sewing video that basically is 5/8 of an inch. Now I don't know if that's true, but it seems like it was when I was sewing, so I'm gonna start doing that from now on. Then the rest of it I kind of just rough-handed it, girl. I'm like, it'll be fine. Because I'm using like this stretch leather vinylish fabric. Honestly, if I was to do it again, I might choose something a little bit more denser, just a little bit. This feels kind of on the thin side. I did notice that because I did not cut away enough of the rubber structure of the shoe, the fabric being on the thinner side did make that more noticeable, especially when you walk and things like that. Um, Honestly, I feel like next time I do it, I'm gonna cut away almost the majority of the shoe, maybe leave a little bit of the toe box, if that. And just keep the back for the spine of for the Velcro opening. But here I'm just sewing the main part of the boot together, right sides facing, with a 5/8 seam allowance. While we're watching my very important and interesting sewing of this boot, what are some of your favorite Mariner quotes? My personal favorite is, "Did you get your bowl signed by Chakotay or whatever?" Like, that one sends me because it's so like just flippant to fan culture and nerdy, like, you know, like I just love how like she just like disregards everything that Boimler is like excited about in that episode. It's so funny to me. Now that we have sewn down the front of the boot, we are going to hem all around the bottom of the boot cover. Now I just folded this by hand, by eye. It kind of looks like a 5/8 of an inch. I didn't measure this. I just did it by eye. So yeah, do it accordingly. But that's roughly what I was going for, 5/8 or so. And then I just sewed straight down with a zigzag stitch. Also, yes, a zigzag stitch for everything. This is a Brother machine that I'm using, and I'm on stitch 3. You can play with your tension and stitch width and all of that. Now, for when you get around the toe, you have to kind of like stretch it out. For those of y'all that sew, if y'all know a better way of doing this, because this was quite tricky, let me know. It worked. It just takes a lot of like slow going and finagling to go around that corner, because you don't want to mess that up and you don't want any bunching. But they honestly came out really great. I was very happy with how they came out. Now, once you are done hemming the boot, you should have something like this. Also, I stitched down the seam of the middle of the boot on both sides, just to give it a little bit of design and texture, and also to reinforce the stitching. So for the Velcro panels for the back of the boot, I ended up just doing straight strips of folded fabric, and then I stitch on one side so I can fold it out, and that'll be the bottom of the Velcro strip for the back of the boot. Alright, so here I'm just pressing that fabric strip flat. I'm using a towel because I don't want to melt this vinyl fabric or even attempt to put direct heat on it. Just so I want to get that pressed nice and flat, baby. Do both sides. This is after I flipped it out. See how that end on the bottom that's the sewn end. So that's going to be the panel, the side that goes on the bottom once you attach it to the back of the boot cover. So here I am, I've already sewn it on, and I'm now cutting that seam down so there's not that excess fabric there in the back of the shoe. And here I am the next day trying to psych myself up with my morning coffee to get to sewing. And clearly I did persevere. But sometimes it's hard, child. I'm sure y'all know. It be hard. Alright, so I lost the footage of me attaching the boot cuff to the boot. But basically, you want to make a 1-inch strip with seam allowance. Whatever your seam allowance is, I use 5/8, and attach that to the top of the boot. I then finish that up by top stitching across that seam. So that'll also make it look really nice and also keep everything nice and flat. All right, here I'm taking some E6000 and basically smearing that across the front of the toe box. So I start from the center and I line up my seams with the seam of the boot. So this boot in particular had a really nice, clear, defined seam down the rubber. So I use that as my guideline. And when I use E6000, especially with this vinyl fabric, I was scared it was going to bleed through. So I was very careful to smear it and spread it out and not let it be too goopy in one particular spot. And I just take it section at a time and make sure everything is not like too stretched out, but not bunching up. You want everything to be smooth. You don't want any wrinkles or anything like that. And then you could just gently press that into the boot. And then here's me wrapping it around the back of the ankle, the heel. Then I'm going to use some masking tape to hold everything in place while it dries. This way, if I'm moving it around, I don't knock anything out of place. Also, because it's a complex shape, it wants to peel away. So this helps everything stay in place while it dries. So here I'm attaching specifically to this grid a bunch of glue because I kind of like the look of the way it like pushes through the fabric. You'll see in a second. And I'm also doing it down the spine of the split of the boot. And I'm using some sewing clips to just keep things in place. And I'm smoothing it out, getting all those wrinkles out. But see that little grid? I thought that was cool. So here I'm just adding some adhesive strips of Velcro, and I've cut them to size. And that's pretty much it. Once you've done that, the boot is complete. And this is the final result. So now you know how to make some lower deck boots. And I hope that you guys use this tutorial. If you use this tutorial, please go ahead and tag me. I think these came out exceptionally well. The only thing, like I said before, that I would change is cutting away more of the rubber structure of the shoe. Please go ahead and comment, like, share this video, all of that good stuff. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments. I'm always eager to help and answer any comments, questions, or concerns. If you would like to support the channel, you can do so by clicking either my Throne or my Venmo below. For my Throne, there are a listing of various cosplays that I would like to do, filming equipment, or either just gifts that you would like to bestow on me if you're feeling generous. You can also tip me through Throne. So there are various ways to support me and the channel down in the description box below. Alright, so this has been me, Anna Rose. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you have learned something. And now I want to see more lower deck boots out there. Alright, so you guys have a good one. Stay safe, stay sane. Anna Rose over and out.